You know what? I can already sense it. People are gonna be like, this bitch in a frat, what? Hey guys, it's Timothy. Feel free to call me Timothy because I accidentally called myself that in the last video. Welcome to my channel. So for today's video, I wanted to talk about being in a fraternity and my experience, rushing and being a part of the brotherhood. Those words feel strange as fuck coming out of my mouth. I also wanted to talk about some things that I wish I knew beforehand and things I wish I had done differently, but also things that are going great about the Greek life experience so far, and just generally talk about my story. I also am very aware that at the time I'm recording this, there's a lot going on right now in not only just the United States, but the world. I hope that in spite of whatever happens or whatever the outcomes are, that you're able to find some ways to seek peace and closure and move on with life. That's just how it be, life moves on, time doesn't stop. And you just gotta keep on trucking, you feel? So now that I've said that, we can dive into what the purpose of today's video is, which is talking about my frat life experience. Wow, that sounds crazy to say coming out of my gay ass. So at the time that I'm recording this, I am currently a sophomore in college. And last school year, or more specifically, the spring semester of my freshman year, was when I did rush and joined my frat. So let's backtrack all the way to... oh my god, it feels so long ago. Just about a year ago. I went into college not even considering Greek life, not even giving it any second thought, or not even giving it a first thought for that fucking matter, you know what I mean? Heading into freshman year, I was just like, I'm too fucking gay to do a frat. And I had so many preconceived notions and single stories about Greek life and the frat life experience. I'm sure a lot of people actually feel this way as well, and we kind of all have this stereotype that frat life is the epitome of straight boy, masculine, college life experience. And that idea was just so prominent and engraved in my mind that as a result, I gave absolutely no consideration or thought about joining a frat, simply because I thought that would not mesh well with the type of person that I am, and that there would definitely be some conflicts because of my sexuality and my identity, which is clearly very feminine. But I definitely do give off this aura or vibe that I'm pure and wholesome and innocent and would never associate myself with the masculine agenda, you know what I mean? So I just carried on with my first semester doing a sport. I'm a cheerleader at my university, working a job, and of course studying and schoolwork. So halfway through first semester, I was personally invited to Dirty Rush, a frat here. And me with my preconceived notions and personal refusal of associating myself with Greek life precluded any possibility of me actually considering Dirty Rush and doing it. And that is kind of where my first regret happened, because I've heard a lot of good things about Dirty Rush. It can be really fun and it gives you a general and clear sense of what the vibe of the frat is like. And as a result, you can go into second semester being prepared and knowing what to expect from the Rush experience. I'm aware that not everybody is in college, or not everybody knows exactly what the definition of rush is. Rushing is basically when you become acquainted with different fraternities and sororities around campus. Simply put, the tea was I just declined the offer to Dirty Rush that frat, and then continued on with the rest of first semester. And then came second semester, which for me was early 2020. This was when official rush season for both sororities and fraternities began. I came back to school, and almost immediately I was sent a bunch of emails from both the school and the Office of Greek Life here at my university regarding the rush opportunities that were upcoming. Me being too hesitant and scared to even consider it, like I said, didn't at the time give it any second thought. But what changed my mind to actually kind of step out of my comfort zone and engage in the rush process were just two small things. The first one sounds a little shallow, and it's really not the main determinant that led me to break free of my reluctancy, but it definitely contributed a little bit to, my consideration of doing rush. So actually, a few of my gay friends decided to do rushing as well. Mind you, they were rushing lesser known, lower tier frats, but it did give me kind of a head start to think, maybe it is worth a shot, maybe I should just give it a try, But the primary thing that motivated me to do rush was talking with one of my friends who is actually a part of the frat I'm in now. Through that, I kind of looked up to him as a mentor and asked him a lot of questions regarding, what frat life is like, what rush is like, and what can I expect from it. And from there, he kind of basically encouraged me to just do it and give it a try. I remember my sexuality and identity were such a big part of, obviously, what was holding me back from doing rush. And I distinctly recall asking him, I'm clearly gay and flamboyant as fuck. It doesn't take a genius to know that, even fucking monkeys can figure that shit out. Will that impact my ability at all to rush? Is it even worth giving it a shot if I'm gonna get turned down right away. And what he told me, because I knew that he had a lot of experience with this kind of stuff and he was openly gay, he told me that there are definitely some frats at this university that will discriminate against people like me, but that there are a lot of frats at the school that are very accepting, very open, and the frat that he was in, or that we're both in now, I guess you could say, was accepting. And I was like, okay, that's fair, but I'm scared, you know, because as I have stated so many times earlier in this video, I personally manifested such a strong association with masculinity, sometimes even toxic masculinity, with frat life and Greek life. So it was a little scary to even think about it. That's kind of why I just dodged the idea of it the entirety of first semester. He said basically, be careful, because like he mentioned, there were frats that were not accepting and homophobic, but at the same time, it's worth a shot and there's really nothing to lose. You don't even have to join the frat. A lot of people rush and don't join frats and still have a lot of fun. And that sat really well with me because he was right. What did I have to lose, you know? Potentially. Keyword potentially. I could lose a little bit of my dignity, feel a little uncomfortable, maybe even embarrassed, but those are such temporary feelings. In the long term, it's irrelevant. So that fully convinced me to give it a shot. So like I mentioned, my friends were considering rushing lower tier frats, and I was like, if I'm gonna do it, I shouldn't have to limit myself to those lower frats where, you know, they're desperately looking for people and are obviously going to accept anybody who's gonna walk in through their doors. So I was like, just fucking go all out. You can only get so many times to actually do a rush. I was basically like, fuck it, you know, I'm just gonna dive straight in. So a little bit of input on how rush works at my school. Like I had said, there's often dirty rush opportunities during the first/fall semester. And that, like I said, is just to give you a general sense of what each frat is like. Come second semester is when the official rush season starts. They call it open rush. And what open rush is basically you go to typically the chapter house, which is the main house of fraternities, and you get to meet the brothers and develop an even better understanding of what that fraternity is like. Open rush takes course over a period of 2 days, and then after that, the brothers decide if you seem like a suitable candidate for recruitment, and they'll continue to invite you to more events over the course of the next week after Open Rush. And Open Rush took place on the weekend, so it was Saturday and Sunday. So me and one of my friends, who is also gay like me, went out and we rushed fraternities. We rushed a lot of them, and the experience was largely the same between each and every one of them. You meet the brothers, you can play pong, watch football, or just, you know, chill and relax on the couch or whatever, and just try to have a good time while becoming acquainted with people who are part of that frat. I got along well with a lot of the brothers and have actually made some long-term friends as a result of rushing, but this is also the moment where I look back on it and feel a lot of regret and wish I had done things differently, because I put so much effort into masking the type of person who I am and my sexual identity. As you can see right now, I have earrings in, I have rings in, and I have a rainbow bracelet, which is pretty much a dead giveaway that I am definitely not 100% straight. In fact, far from it, as y'all probably know. So I went to pretty great lengths to disguise myself as masculine and straight. Those preconceived notions were just so strong in my head and were so scary to me, it led me to think that this was the only course of action that I could pursue. So these bitches were gone, and I kept all my friends call this the straight boy chain. Funny, right? Yeah. Anyway, I changed up my typical appearance a bit, and I thought at the time by doing that I would generate more of a masculine aura without the jewelry and stuff like that. But that wasn't really the only thing I did. As I was talking and mingling to the brothers, I would often deepen my voice like this, and I kept this voice every time I would go out and do rush events and stuff like that, and not allow any bit of flamboyancy or gayness to show through. Which obviously it still does, because it's very unnatural for me. Cringe! But obviously talking to the brothers for the first time, they don't know what my real voice is like, so they really can't base it off of or compare it to anything else. The problem with also masking myself and trying to come off as more masculine is that I can't really conclude if a certain frat was, you know, accepting or chill with me being super flamboyant, you feel? Because if they're vibing with me while I'm trying to portray myself as masculine, how would I really know how they'd act when I'm being myself? So like I said, I got along very well with the brothers, while at the same time trying to come off as more masculine. And after Open Rush was over, every frat that I rushed, I got invited to more of their events the following week. So I had this mentality that I kind of had to place my focus on one frat, because I was thinking, if I'm not making a dedicated effort to prioritize a fraternity, would they even want me? if I'm only showing up to one of their many events and just neglecting all the other rush events. So because of that, I thought I had to select a frat right after Open Rush ended. So from that, I placed all my focus on the frat that I'm in now and the frat that my friend was in. This was the best week of my freshman second semester by far. I had so much fun being a part of these rush events. I met even more great people. I played a lot of Pong with the brothers, watched some football, which I had not done since like 4th grade from my straight era, play Slap Cup, go to a dim sum restaurant, do some mini golfing and going to an arcade. We also had a date night downtown at a lounge, and that was a lot of fun. And I brought my best friend with me, and shit was a blast, simply put. It was a boatload of fun, and because of those experiences alone, I personally feel like I can full-heartedly recommend rushing. So I'll talk more about things to bear in mind and some tips about rushing fraternities at the end of the video, but I just want to continue on with my experience and kind of not disrupt the flow of that. But like I said, throughout this entire time, I was still masking who I really was. At the time, I really had not thought much about it, but in the end, that could have definitely hurt me, and I'm very fortunate that it didn't. So I went to each of the rush events I was invited to, and at the end of it, there was a bid party, also called bid day. I just like to call it a bid party because it sounds more cute, you know? Basically, during bid day, the brothers come together and talk about who would make a good recruit for the frat, and from there they invite the people who rushed over and give them pretty much acceptance letters and invite them to pledge the fraternity. So that happened to me, and I accepted the bid, and that pretty much began my pledging process to become initiated into the frat. The reason why I accepted the bid was because I had so much fun rushing the frat. I felt like I clicked well with a lot of the brothers, so I was like, this is something that I could actually see myself being a part of. I'm gonna give it a shot. So the pledging process began, and this is where I noticed my inability to maintain this straight persona that I tried so hard to veil myself in. My voice became higher pitched again, the gay accent showed through, and often pledging events were after a basketball game for cheerleading, and I didn't really have a lot of time to go home and get ready for pledge events and take off my makeup, so I would show up to pledge events with some eyeshadow, you know what I mean? This was definitely a noticeable change for me. I'm still so fortunate that even though I was pretty much exhibiting my true self, the level of respect and the treatment that I received from not only the brothers, but people who were also pledging alongside me did not change at all, and they still treated me how I perceived it 100% normally. There were also a few times where some of them poked a little fun at me for being gay because it was just so evident, you know? They asked like, what's it like to suck dick? And they'd also be like, you know Tim's excited when his voice goes up 3 octaves higher. And I just went from, you know, being so uncomfortable being myself towards the beginning of the rush process to being completely comfortable with being basically me. And if you know me, or you can probably tell already, you know what I'm really like. So I carried through with the pledging process, and at the end of it, got initiated, and here I am in the fraternity, thriving. I guess in that regard, yeah, but am I thriving at life right now? That's definitely up for debate. So that takes us to, I'm sure, the well-awaited part of this video, because y'all probably bored as shit. Be like, Tim, you're a terrible storyteller. Like, my ass is about to fall asleep. So let's begin. What are some things that I wish I had done differently when rushing fraternities and just throughout the whole process? I already emphasized this, but I wish I had just been myself. First of all, it sucks being someone who you are not. I spent pretty much the first 15 years of my life doing that, trying so hard to portray myself as masculine and straight, and that just destroyed me at the end of it. It's very damaging to your psyche, and it's just so important to stay true to yourself. So for example, if I rushed like pretty much the highest tier frat here, which is pretty homophobic and racist, there's actually an incident where one of the brothers at this frat got caught out for being a racist, and there was a whole controversy regarding it. Imagine if I had rushed that frat and was trying to come off as really bro-y, and there is not even a hint of gay you could like pull from me. Imagine how miserable I'd feel continuing through that process and being a completely different person from the one that I know. If all of a sudden I just decided to start being myself, that could be taken very poorly. Not only did I pretty much fake who I was as a person, but who knows if other people are homophobic. I wish I could say that it's 2020, people aren't homophobic anymore, but we all know. The truth of the matter is people are still homophobic, people are still racist, there's a lot of hate in people's hearts towards specific groups of people, so that's something that you have to be really careful about. And generally, if you want to get close with people, I feel like it's very crucial to be yourself. And from there, you can actually see who you vibe with. I also wish I kind of broke free of my preconceived notions and just went balls deep with this whole rushing process, you know? Like I had mentioned, I was invited to Dirty Rush halfway through first semester, and I really wish I had done that because that frat is actually a really cool frat. I've been to it before. I feel like that would have helped me garner a better sense of what it's really like to be a part of that brotherhood. Sometimes in life you gotta take risks, and there's a lot of potential reward and benefit from engaging and taking those risks. I feel like a lot of us can personally find closure much more efficiently when we know we didn't take opportunities for granted and just went for it and gave it our all and gave it a shot. I also want to specify that these tips, tricks, feelings, emotions, etc. do not apply to every single person. We all have our own upbringings. We all are in different circumstances right now regarding many aspects of our lives. So do take the time to analyze how these tips that I'm sharing could fit into your circumstances. I've actually been asked this a lot, and people wonder, being in a frat comprised of men, do you find yourself, damn bitch said vroom vroom, do you find yourself attracted to them? Do you find yourself wanting to date them? Isn't that kind of seen as taboo? Now here's the tea. From what I've seen and what I've experienced, you will not get kicked out of a frat if you do date someone in it. How prohibited or taboo it comes off as, that obviously varies from frat to frat. From my personal experience, I never found myself catching feelings or having a crush on my fellow brothers. It feels kind of weird to say this, but knowing that I'm a part of a brotherhood, I'm able to not develop feelings and not find myself, wanting to date some of my fraternity. But people outside the fraternity, it's completely fucking different. Let's be real. At my high school, I caught a lot of feelings for guys, and I didn't fucking want to, and I still fucking did. Straight and gay, okay? So I'm just gonna say that. With my fraternity, it's different. I'm able to put a cork in that process and not let it happen at all, which is kind of crazy to think about because my feelings and emotions are significant factors in my life, and they can be really fucking overpowering. So yes, the tea is, I will find people attractive no matter what, but when it comes to my fraternity, I'm able to be like, bro, I fucking love you, but not like that. Even though it may seem like I'm hyping up, being in a fraternity and Greek life, I also want to acknowledge that Greek life is not for everybody. And oftentimes, it is very overrated and a lot of people use it for clout. Let me just say that. You can have an amazing college experience without being a part of a sorority or a frat. Let me just tell you that. Is it worth it to be in a frat? What do you like the most about it? I would say the greatest thing from rushing a fraternity and being a part of one is the close bonds I have developed with so many people. I run the frat Instagram alongside one of my friends who I have so much admiration for, and I feel that way for a lot of people in my fraternity. There's just something I find so endearing and enlightening about having such love for people. And I can say with 100% certainty that those feelings lift up my spirits and make me feel better when I'm feeling not so confident or I'm feeling down and hopeless and lost, you know what I mean? God, that got fucking deep. This is also something really shallow, but I'm gonna admit to it because I'm an honest bitch. Being a part of frat has boosted my ego. When I think about this, I'm like, damn bitch, you really did that, like you're a fucking gay, feminine ass, really pulled through and you really are thriving now. And for a short time, I used that to flex on like my Grindr and my Tinder, okay? It's so shallow and egoistical, I'm sorry. If it's worth it, it's something that you have to gauge yourself. I can't speak out for everyone else. For me, I can say that I 100% think it's worth it. What are some of the bad things about being in a fraternity? For me, it's the dues. Every semester we have to pay dues to be a part of the frat. At least for my university, it's really not fucking cheap. Can you still see guys when you're a part of a frat? Of course you can. Straight dudes bring girls all the time to their frat houses, so why can't you, And if you can't, then that's discrimination and homophobic. T? Yes. I distinctly remember a lot of people making fun of one of the brothers I'm friends with for sneaking guys in through the back door, but of course in a very lighthearted way. So I would say, go for it. So guys, that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope you enjoy listening to my story, and I hope that you find the tips and kind of my input helpful. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe because I am making a valiant effort at coming back to YouTube. It truly means a lot to witness you guys liking my videos and engaging with me. Like I said, there's so much going on in the world right now. I'm here to talk and I send you warm wishes. And just know that I have love for all you guys, no matter what your perceptions of me are. Have a great day, guys. I'll see you around.